Good morning. This is David Plaza's Community Conversation Editor of the News Press. It is June 25th, 2012. We are in the editorial board meeting room, and we have the privilege of having with us Warren Wright, who is running for Lee County Commissioner, District 2. And before we begin, if we can ask our editorial board members to please introduce themselves for the record.
Cole Peacock, alumni of the editorial board representing Fort Myers.
Pam Grotehouse from Bonita Springs.
I'm Luis Insignaris from South Fort Myers.
Don Eslick, board alumni from Estero.
And Kerry Everly from the News Press.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wright. Tell us, why are you running for this position?
Well, there are, I would say, a number of different reasons why. First of all, I'd like to say that I have, a proven track record, and I've also been proven to be very innovative in my approach to handling problems. I think some of the issues that I'm most concerned about are the budget, fiscal responsibility, and taking on the issues of the environment as well as urban sprawl. And I'm very concerned about innovative job growth. So those are the three issues that I think need the most attention in Lee County, and that's why I'm running.
Mm-hmm. And you've held the position before of City Council, a member of City of Fort Myers. From that vantage point, what were some of the challenges that you saw that the municipalities faced, and how, as a county commissioner, might you be able to address some of those things in terms of issues such as sprawl, such as fiscal responsibility?
What were the problems I experienced on the City Council?
Or what are the lessons that you've learned from that experience that you think you could bring to this particular position if elected?
Okay. Well, I think that, the redevelopment plan of downtown Fort Myers, there were a great number of pressures that were applied to either eliminate or open up that plan to make it more accessible or more pleasing to different factors. And I think what was really important, what role I played in that, was being true to the plan and trying to protect its integrity. And there were a lot of forces that tried to expand it or open it up. And I think it was that kind of experience taught me how many different forces out there that are interested in not necessarily following a plan, more of a special interest orientation. And it's important to protect the integrity of the plan. So I think that experience was very eye-opening. And, but furthermore, what I'm most proud of working on the city, one accomplishment was the Billy Creek Filter Marsh. And there I was a collaborator in getting 5 different agencies to work together: the state, the county, the city, as well as the Water Management District in 2020. And not only that, it was innovative in getting the opportunity in 2020 to consider purchasing an urban area, which had never been done before. But through my lobbying efforts and trying to work with 2020, explaining to them the unique property that it was and the viability of it, I was able to bring all these forces together and just a couple of short years turn a project around that has had a tremendous impact on the environment. In those neighborhoods, there were houses that were abandoned. Some of them didn't even have front doors. There was trash everywhere. But once that was cleaned up, and you see it like 6 o'clock at night, families and with kids on their tricycles riding through the filter marsh where the paved pathways are, you can see a real sense of community that's evolved. And I realized, which I knew in my heart to be true, but I have now physical evidence that, if you take the time to pick the right projects and spend the money the appropriate way, you can have a profound ripple effect in an area. And so those are the kind of things that I think that we need to be doing on a county level, which is, spending our money more wisely and taking a look at the things that are going to have the most impact for the community as a whole, that are going to bring up our quality of life.
When you talked about the budget, let's start with that.
Yeah.
What are your concerns about
it? On the city council, for 4 budgets in a row, I refused to borrow from the reserves to balance the budget. And what I've seen here is, on the county, missed opportunities where we, using the reserves to balance the budget, have, without making any real fundamental change in terms of how we're choosing to spend our dollars. It's simply been done just to maintain the status quo. And I think that with I think this economic storm is not something that's just been passing. I mean, I think we've hit a real reset button, and it's a new normal. And for us to continue to think that, like, oh, we're going to budget, as what I've looked at for the upcoming budget is, well, we're going to think things are going to get better, and we're going to count on that. I don't think that that's the right approach. I think that it's not. I don't think it's necessarily realistic, especially when we've been dwindling our reserves. And so in that regard, I think it's not a smart move. And when we could have taken those reserves, which I think would have been better spent on investing in infrastructure in terms of preparing for a new economy. And just as an example, I think that we need to be thinking about fiber optics as as one of our utilities. All our medical charts, everything we have is going to be digital. For us to be able to, we're going to need all that kind of connectivity. And I'll point to an example: the city of Tulsa, after the oil bust 20 years ago, they had a network of all this piping and crisscrossing the city and the county. The mayor there decided to fill all those pipes with fiber optics, and as a result, in just a few short years, Tulsa became simply another a mini Silicon Valley for the Midwest. And I think that as we continue to evolve, and as this economy continues to evolve, we're going to need a stronger infrastructure that's going to separate us from all the other cities and counties in the area that are going to make us more desirable to relocate here.
So how would you balance the budget if you couldn't take reserves? I mean, I don't disagree with that statement.
Right.
And I don't think the state of Florida should be taking their reserves to balance their budget, but they are. And they're shifting those dollars into things like tourism and putting into education and some other areas. They've had a no tax increase, they're not gonna do it. The county's looking at, having to use reserves to balance your budget. Do you have an answer for how to pick up the remaining dollars without dipping into reserves?
Yeah, I think that I would like you all to take a step back just for a second in answering that question. One of the few interlocal agreements that the city and the county have, all the cities with the county have, is the gas tax, and that's really administered by the state. And what that tells me, and why I point that out, is that there is such a lack of cooperation between many of the cities and the counties. And I could go through examples of how I felt like the city of Fort Myers was treated very unfairly by the county, especially in terms of water quality treatment plants, and how the county had tagged on to some services that we had in one part of the city, and then as East Fort Myers and the Forum and that area started to grow, the county was ready to build a new plant. And we said, could we tack on to that as well, just kind of pay a fee for service? And they were like, no, you have to pay for half of it. Well, the city didn't have the funding to do that. And so all of a sudden we were just shut down. And that kind of, what I would describe as almost arrogance in terms of refusing to partnership is what's costing us a lot of money. And I can point to you another example. The Kismet water plant, water treatment facility over in Cape Coral. You have something like that that's not even at a third of capacity. Yet the county is looking at building a whole nother water treatment facility in North Fort Myers when they could easily tap into it. And the Cape Coral facility needs that kind of volume in order for its gray water system to work as well. But we're not thinking in terms of a global perspective of how we can all help each other, how the cities and the counties can work together. And I feel that that right there is millions of dollars. I mean, building a new water treatment plant, which is something that I don't feel we really need in North Fort Myers right now for another probably 15 to 20 years, if we were to work with the city of Cape Coral as an example, is tens of millions right there. So, there's that aspect. Another issue is, I thought the city of Sanibel did something really fantastic. A couple of years ago, they said, you know what? There's a give and, every relationship has a give and take. We're going to bring in all the contracts that we've had and renegotiate them. It's a different world right now. And they got about 90% of their contracts renegotiated. Everyone participated, almost. Saved them a lot of money. So these are things that we need to, practical things.
Well, it's my understanding the county is currently doing that right now, whether it's governmental contracts, whether it's